Welcome to the Puzzle of Us podcast. I'm your host, Chelsea Peterson, the owner of Cache Valley Counseling, and I'm bringing with me years of experience of doing therapy and helping hundreds of individuals, couples, and families through whatever life challenges are thrown at them. So today I want to introduce you to a few things, a few tips and tricks of how to build momentum when you really feel stuck. So this happens so often in so many of our lives that we get to a place where it feels like we're stuck. It feels like we're not moving forward. We're not gaining momentum. We're not, life is just kind of happening to us rather than us being in charge of our life. And so today we're going to spend some time kind of diving into some things that might help you to feel a little bit unstuck. Yeah, there's a lot of ways that sometimes progress really means we're not overhauling our lives, but it's little tiny changes and adjustments that we make along the way that really help build the momentum, help us feel like those little consistent actions are really effective and bringing about a lot of big, sustainable changes and help us reach those goals that we have. So we are definitely, if you're just starting therapy or you're just returning after you've had a little break, or if you're really just trying to feel a little bit better day by day, this podcast is definitely for you. So one of the things that I have heard, like when we feel stuck, what does that feel like? Am I alone in it? Am I the only person who ever feels this way? First of all, you are not alone, and almost, I would dare say, everybody at times feels stuck in their relationship, in life, in just their overall mental health. And it is very, very common, and you are not alone for feeling that. And sometimes it's really hard to kind of get out of those stuck spaces. So, and different things work for different people. Sometimes it's like, I just am feeling kind of and I went to the doctor and they told me that I should try no gluten. And so I've tried no gluten and I'm feeling a ton better. And now I'm going to try to eliminate gluten from my diet. That may certainly help you. For many people, that is not going to be the answer. For some people, it is. So again, if you're feeling that way, I definitely encourage you to do your due diligence and listen to your body and listen to what you need. And what your body is telling you, because it's usually pretty good about, it's not always clear, but it's usually pretty good about sending some signals of like something feels a little off. And you don't have to feel yucky just because I'm in this phase of life, or I feel stuck, or, we're in the middle of raising children, or we're working 4 jobs, or whatever it is. Like, you don't have to feel yucky because of those situations. You can feel really good and great and motivated and positive in life in every circumstance. And even if you're aging, if you're listening to this and you're an older person, I think our society doesn't do a good job of saying like you can age well. Oftentimes it's like, well, you're just feeling that way because you are getting older. Oh, you're in your 40s now. Oh, you're in your 60s now. Oh, you're in your 70s now. Of course, that makes sense that you feel that way. And part of that is, yes, true. And you don't have to stay there. You can move out of this. And so if you're feeling stuck mentally, emotionally, behaviorally, physically, these tips and tricks that we're going to go through today are definitely for you and can help you get just a little bit of momentum to help. Again, I like to think of it as like a snowball or an avalanche, right? The snowball starts small, and then as you're building that, as it keeps rolling down the hill, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it gets harder to stop. And our little tweaks that we make in life are like those little snowballs that have that bigger, greater effect down the road. They're hard to do because we don't see a lot of wins or a lot of, huge successes from the daily consistent things. In the moment, there's not a lot of in the moment satisfaction or gratification, but it's usually longer term gratification. So it's keeping up the little things to get the bigger goal. Just another thing I want to mention is that shame or perfectionism can often block progress, right? Oh, I missed a day, therefore I just shouldn't try this anymore. Those thoughts, just be aware of them and be thoughtful of them. because they can keep you from even starting that little snowball roll down the hill. Perfectionism, shame can keep us out of that. And that's not a place that we really want to be. We want to really just focus on those small wins, not the giant leaps.
Hey, Chelsea here. Sorry for interrupting your listening. I just wanted to quickly tell you about our 7-day email challenge for a happier, healthier, and stronger relationship. The challenge is completely free, and each day you will get a new concept to strengthen your relationship, as well as an example of seeing it in action. And to top it off, you'll get an exercise to put that concept into practice. Check out the show notes to sign up below.
Today, we are really going to talk about those small wins and what they even look like. So what is a small win? It's those little things of like getting out of bed, drinking a glass of water, taking a 5-minute walk, saying something kind to yourself, stopping yourself from saying something mean to yourself, reframing or redirecting it. These little micro moments are really, really huge in building confidence, self-trust, and really that momentum over time. That's just the start. That's like the first, picking up the snow for the first time and making a little tiny snowball. That's what those little tiny wins are. And sometimes when you're in a really stuck place, those little wins feel really easy to justify or to kind of brush off or dismiss of like, oh, well, I'm not doing X, Y, and Z, so therefore it's not enough, and I feel down on myself. And so again, really giving yourself that positive self-talk can be just that little snowball that then, sure enough, you're rolling it into a giant base of a snowman. Those micro moments really are really huge. So keep doing them. And if you are really stuck, that's a really good place to start so that you can start to get a little bit of momentum. And again, it's not about perfection. It's about doing it consistently. So set yourself up for success. If I know I'm not going to be perfect at it, don't expect perfection. But if I know I'm not going to be perfect at it, set yourself up for like, I'm going to do this 3 times a week. I'm going to do this twice a week. I'm going to do this 4 times a week, right? Like 7 out of 7, if it happens, great. But don't set yourself up for failure, because then you never get started. Another thing that can be really helpful is the 5-minute routine. So pick one grounding habit to do for 5 minutes and do it daily. That can be stretching, that can be journaling, that could be stepping outside or taking a deep breath. Even just laying on your floor for 5 minutes, or laying on your bed or wherever you can get to or wherever is comfortable, and just laying there and taking big deep breaths for 5 minutes. You're not doing breath work. You're not trying to get yourself into a meditative state or anything, but you're just trying to calm that nervous system so life might be a little more navigable. I don't even know if that's a word, but I just made it a word. We can navigate it a little bit easier because our nervous system is at a more regulated state. So whatever you can do, 5 minutes, that's all it takes is 5 minutes. Start with 5 minutes. And if you can't do 5 minutes, 3 minutes, right? Most people, 5 minutes, I don't know if I can carve that much time out sometimes, but 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever you can do. 1 minute is a little short, especially for something like journaling. But again, just starting, okay, I'm going to do this for 2 minutes, and at least getting started oftentimes it'll just ripple effect into like, oh, this stretching feels really good. I'm going to do this for a few more minutes. And before you know it, now you've prioritized stretching when it wasn't a priority before. So again, that 5-minute routine is really helpful. The daily check-in is also very effective in being able to just ask yourself, what do I need to do? Or what's taking up the most emotion or space or stress in my life right now? What are those things? I got this from my husband, so I'll give kudos to him, and I think he got it from someone else. But he always, we often talk about, well, is this a glass ball or a rubber ball? And I often get focused on the rubber balls, because often the rubber balls in life for me are often or more fun. They're more, I don't have quite as many blocks when it comes to my own, stresses of life. The rubber balls are usually a little bit more of, I don't know, exciting. They help me get the momentum of things. And then the glass balls are like, oh, well, I really got to have a lot of energy for that. So I'm going to get all of these rubber balls done. So let me back up and actually explain the rubber ball and glass ball. So kind of theory or way of thinking about things of, there are some things that, if you were holding balls in your hands and if I were to drop a glass ball, what happens, right? That's not bouncing back up. I'm not able to put it all back together. Like, it's going to actually be worse if I let that ball hit the ground. Whereas a rubber ball, if I were to drop a rubber ball, a tennis ball, a lax ball, some sort of rubber ball, it's most likely actually going to bounce back up, or, like a baseball, it's not going to break. It might not be very bouncy, but I'm not going to ruin it, right? So if you can think of that and think about the things that you have to do in your life today, what's that glass ball that if this happens or this doesn't get done or this is, we're stuck here or whatever, this is a whole lot harder to recover from versus the glass ball or the rubber balls, right? If I don't weed my garden today, as of right now, I'll be okay. I can get to it tomorrow. But if I don't pick my kid up from school, he might not come home. He might get taken by family services or whatever it is. Like, those sort of things could happen. And so deciding, those stressors in life, those priorities in life, what's a glass ball and what's a rubber ball, can be helpful. That daily check-in, again, setting yourself up for success. How do I do that at the beginning of my day of like, what do I really need to get done today? And how do I focus and prioritize my efforts in that direction so that I can feel more accomplished? Can really help with momentum of things. Another thing that can be really helpful is the one thing rule. Is what I often see is a lot of people trying to, okay, I've got to clean the house. That's a benign example, but it's, something that often happens, and people will get overwhelmed by like, oh, I have to clean the house. Don't focus on, I've got to clean the house and I've got, this list of 20 things that I've got to do. I've got to dust and vacuum and mop and clean the bathrooms and all of these things. Don't focus on like all of that. Focus on one thing at a time. In the next 20 minutes, I need to get the laundry folded. In the next half a day, I need to whatever, like set a time limit, set a time in a time frame of so that you have a parameter, and then pick one thing to get done. Then that often helps with the overwhelm. You're breaking it into smaller, more bite-sized pieces rather than, okay, you've got to sit down and eat this whole pie right now. I've got to clean the whole house right now. That can often get very overwhelming and hard to keep the momentum. So breaking things into small, one thing, one step at a time. A lot of things, again, why this all works, why these previous things that I mentioned work, is that our brain really responds to the completion or the reward. We get actually a hit of dopamine. And so when we get that hit of dopamine of like, oh, I accomplished that, okay, I got to clean the house, but I'm done folding the laundry. We actually get a hit of dopamine that makes us feel good. It makes us feel accomplished. And that helps us on our way. When I get that glass ball item checked off my list, I can actually have a whole lot more fun doing those rubber ball items because now I can actually enjoy them instead of like, okay, I got to hurry and get them done so that I can do the glass ball item. And so again, that dopamine is really what we're looking for. The more reward you get, the more completion, the more dopamine, the more you feel good, the more you want to keep going. And those small wins then accumulate, and it can be a confidence builder. It can be evidence that you are capable, that you can do this. Cleaning the house can be incredibly overwhelming, but I got one thing done, and so I can keep going. Again, that dopamine it's a good thing. Progress doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes that means that, doesn't mean that the snowball isn't getting built or that it isn't started. But sometimes, that end result, the house isn't completely clean, and I did manage to do X, Y, and Z. I did manage to get the laundry folded. And so those little things is progress, even though it still feels like, well, I still have 20 more things on my list. So stopping and recognizing that can be really helpful for keeping that momentum. It is totally normal to not be perfect and to not be able to be, for it to be difficult to be inconsistent, or difficult for it to be consistent. So we want to just make sure that you know that you're normal and it's okay when it is difficult, especially when you're starting a new habit or you are trying to accomplish a goal. Sometimes that like inconsistency can be really normal. It is really normal. And so missing a day for doing something, or having a bad week, or only doing it 2 of the 4 times, that doesn't take away all the work that you have done. And so recognizing that small progress, you have made changes, you are making changes, you are making progress, albeit small, it's still progress. And let yourself, again, allow yourself to feel that dopamine hit just a little bit, that there is some accomplishment, there is some working towards a goal that is happening. One thing that I got from Atomic Habits, if you haven't read that, it's an excellent read. But one thing that he talks about is just being 1% better. And if you can focus on that, of just being 1% better, we're not trying to be 100% better. We're not trying to be 50% better. That's the overall goal. But today, I have control over being 1% better. And I can be 1% better today than I was yesterday. So that's what I have control over right now, today, in the moment, presently. How do we focus on that? And how do we reward that when we do feel like we are 1% better? One of the best things that can help you keep momentum is self-compassion, and really being curious with yourself when you do get criticized, or when you start to criticize, or when you start to feel like, I'm a failure. Really get curious about, where is that coming from? And did I really fail? And really kind of challenging those kind of negative thought patterns can be incredibly helpful. Again, momentum is about it isn't about doing all the things. It's about doing one small thing at a time. Creating those small wins can really help you succeed and feel like you're accomplishing something, even if it's as small as getting out of bed. So just remember, it's about doing something, no matter how small it is. It is about doing one small thing today that is going to help you feel like you're progressing. That's going to feel like you are making it towards your goal. You're creating that momentum. You're doing it. You're moving in life, and that's great. What is one small mental health win that you can try today? Of all the things we talked about today, whether it be gratitude, whether it be self-compassion, whether it be about, focusing on a small win of like, I got out of bed today, I got dressed today, I did these things, whether it's focusing on the glass balls versus the rubber balls, those small wins. What is one thing that you can focus on today to be 1% better? Hopefully you find your 1% today, and we'll catch you next time on the Puzzle of Us podcast.